When it's time to lay down your weary head, you'll find comfort and safety at the partially renovated Rosebud Motel. And don't forget to say hello to your handsome proprietor, Mr. Jonathan Rose.
Thank you for having us.
John, no.
It may be a no to John, but it certainly was a yes to Schitt's Creek last night at the Canadian Screen Awards. The CBC comedy ended its 6-season run last year, but still managed to pick up quite a few golden trophies last night. Senior entertainment reporter Eli Glasner has been following the week-long awards and joins me now with more. Always nice to have an excuse to show a little Schitt's Creek first thing in the morning, Eli.
There you go.
Talk to us about the big winners.
Well, I mean, let's start right there. I mean, what a way to close out your final season, capping it off with what it was, 8 screen awards, including Best Comedy Series, Best Director, the 6th win in a row for the wonderful, magnetic, hilarious Catherine O'Hara, and Dan Levy, show co-creator, actor, all things with his father, was there virtually to accept the Radius Award and talked on tape about the impact that the show has had really around the world. Let's take a listen.
Over the past 6 years, I have come to meet and befriend many of my peers, many of whom are nominated tonight. They are making exceptional film and television here in Canada, telling meaningful stories that are broadening our perspectives. And I just wanted to say that it has been a real honor to get to work alongside you over the years.
Oh, there you go. I mean, Canada is certainly punching above its weight in terms of comedies and making ripples around the world. And Dan celebrating that, talking about comedies, having international success. Paul Sang-Hung Lee, who plays Appa on Kim's Convenience, won last night and talked about being inspired by his father and other strong, stubborn Korean men that he based his performance on. Deepa Mehta in the world of film won for Best Director for her film Funny Boy, which also received 2 other awards. Akila's Escape from Charles Officer got 5 awards, including Best Screenplay. But I want to point out what a strong night it was for Indigenous film. Let's begin with the movie Blood Quantum. I mean, even though it was released during the pandemic, it really has resonated. And maybe that's because this is a film about a pandemic where it turns out the Indigenous community are actually immune to this zombie plague. So an Indigenous zombie film done with, wonderful style by Jeff Barnaby. It was up for 10 Canadian Screen Awards and took home 7 of them, including Michael Grey Eyes, who plays the local sheriff and is also now getting attention for his role on the sitcom Rutherford Falls. Now then from Blood Quantum, let's move on to Beans. This is an amazing film from director Tracy Deer. It's set during the Oka crisis. Remember this well. CBC reported on it, but this film is from the point of view of a young Mohawk family, specifically this teenager. It's a coming of age story set during kind of the crucible of the Oka crisis. This won Best First Feature and Best Film overall. That is a huge win for Tracy Deer, the Indigenous director, who is just getting started. And the one and only David Suzuki accepted a Lifetime Achievement Award, and he spoke about his father and kind of what made him into the man that we know so well. Let's take a look at what Suzuki had to say.
My great mentor and teacher was my father, Kar Suzuki, and he felt that Japanese Canadians are too modest and shy. So he urged me to enter public speaking contests, and then he trained me to be an orator. So I thank my father for that.
Always nice to give a shout out to the parents. So Eli, truly a glittering night for the industry, even if it was virtual yet again. But how's the rest of the industry coping as this pandemic is still continuing and affecting how that kind of work is done?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's a challenging time, but it's very busy, very booming time. I want to show you some footage from a set I visited recently in Dundas, Ontario, near Hamilton. This is a movie that's in production right now called The Swearing Jar, and you'll see people in masks. They're all taking precautions. We were actually there reporting on a story about a special medical and health unit that is set up to help them do all the testing. So we have never had, we've never been busier, but those COVID precautions are adding 10 to 15% to the budgets of many of our productions. In fact, last night during the awards, the Minister of Heritage announced that they're increasing the federal insurance program that the government put in place so that Canadian film and TV shows could continue. What's interesting is pre-pandemic, Canadian production has been decreasing while the foreign service production, so other countries, other shows coming to Canada, that has been going up. Looking at a report from the Canadian Media Production Association, Canadian productions were down about 12% from 2019 to 20, while foreign service productions were up 8%. That's one of the reasons why the government is fighting to introduce major changes to the Broadcasting Act and how streaming services operate in Canada with Bill C-10. So things are certainly booming, though. We've been looking around the country. Look in Ontario. We had 62 projects filmed in Ontario between July of 2020 and January 2021. If that continues, you're going to see higher production volumes than before the pandemic here in Ontario. In BC, things are bouncing back. In Alberta, they look like they're on track for a record year from 2021 to 2022. So very busy, but still a question of how many of those productions are telling Canadian stories. But certainly there is a demand for our services and talent.
Nice to see some rosy predictions. Eli, great to see you this morning. Thank you for this. Senior entertainment reporter Eli Glasner in Toronto.